Welcome back to the Stream of Consciousness, everyone. I'm your host, Cyrus. Let's start with this story about America's war in Afghanistan ending in crushing defeat. This is a story in The Economist about how the consequences of the conflict for Afghans, already catastrophic, are to get worse. So this is a tough situation. We're pulling all the troops out of Afghanistan. We're leaving after 20 years. The Taliban is now taking over. Biden is defending it, saying the U.S. achieved its objectives. So the president is insisting that the United States has done more than enough to empower the Afghan police and military to secure the future of their people. Basically saying, we've done our part. Now it's your turn to take over from where we left off. We're leaving you in good shape. Now you got to do some heavy lifting. Well, turns out we actually left in the middle of the night. We left Bagram Airfield, the main airfield in Afghanistan, in the middle of the night. Didn't tell their new Afghan commander. It says here, the U.S. left after nearly 20 years by shutting off the electricity and slipping away in the night without notifying the base's new Afghan commander, who discovered the Americans' departure more than 2 hours after they left. In the meantime, in that 2 hours between when we left without telling them and they figured out what happened, they're like, we heard some rumors that the Americans had left. And finally, by 7 o'clock in the morning, we understood it was confirmed that they had already left Bagram. General Mir Azadullah Kohistani, Bagram's new commander, said. I'm sure I butchered that guy's name. Anyway, in that 2 hours between when we left and when they got there, the base was invaded by a small army of looters who ransacked barrack after barrack and rummaged through giant storage tents before the Afghans finally got there and kicked them out. So yeah, I don't know that they're necessarily being left in good shape. Here's a video of a whole bunch of Afghan National Army soldiers surrendering to the Taliban, handing over all their equipment and joining forces with them. And yeah, this is equipment of all variety. Everything from Humvees to Guardian, armored personnel carriers, all kinds of stuff. Check this out. So I'm going to keep the volume real low. It's just a bunch of guys saying Allahu Akbar and a bunch of other stuff I don't understand. So this right here, woof, that right there was a Guardian vehicle. It's called a M117 Guardian armored personnel carrier. It's armed with a 40 millimeter automatic grenade launcher and a 50 caliber Browning machine gun, M2. So if you think that thing is not dangerous, you are wrong. It will fuck you up. And they don't just have one, they've got a couple. Hey, check this out. There it is right there. Woo, look at that thing. Here's a picture of it, by the way, on Wikipedia, just in case you're curious. Anyway, back to the video. Here's a bunch of up-armored Humvees. You know, they've added a bunch of homemade armor to them. They're checking it out. They're getting in. He's like, hey, I pimped my ride. It's got a bullet hole in the window. That's probably got a story to it. There's two more Guardians right there. Guys, this is like tens of millions of dollars of equipment here. Look at this. This is never ending. There's another one. And look at this. He dropped his AK. Oh, better pick that up. I don't want to leave that behind. It's just a crazy video. Look at this. They're handing over their weapons. And then here we go. Here's the pile of weapons and equipment at the end here. They're just like dumping all their stuff into it. And being like, all right, we're with you guys now. The Americans left. Joe Biden says we're in good shape, but this doesn't feel like good shape. This feels like very, very bad shape. You know, these guys. They're like, can we still do heroin on the job like we did when we were in the ANA? In case you didn't know, like these guys have a real problem with doing heroin all day. Like smoking opium. So unfortunately, though, there are people who's being left behind. Here's an article about an Afghan interpreter who was beheaded by the Taliban. Others fear they'll be hunted down too. They found out this guy was working as a translator, so they basically just murdered him. And that's happening to a lot of interpreters. Here's one that CNN interviewed who's still with us, and hear what he has to say.
If they catch me, they're gonna kill me, they're gonna kill my kids, and they're gonna kill my wife too. It's a payback time for them, you know.
The father of three says his contract with the US military was terminated in 2014 after he failed a polygraph test. But his letters of recommendation from SEAL commanders reflect a translator who went above and beyond duty, describing him as a valuable and necessary asset who braved enemy fire and undoubtedly saved the lives of American and Afghans alike.
I'm gonna stop it right there. That's totally fucking unfair to this guy. He served the United States. He risked his life. He fucking braved enemy fire, and he's disqualified over a polygraph. Guys, polygraphs aren't real, all right? Let me let you know a little secret. Go on Wikipedia. Do your research. They're bullshit. I know. They're accepted in courts. It's unreal. It's a major flaw in our legal system. There's no scientific basis to these things, all right? The only way they work is by tricking people into thinking that they work. So, like, you get all sweaty and weird, and, like, you start confessing shit shouldn't be anyway, but... You know, it's like that old Seinfeld episode where George is beating the polygraph. He's like, it's not a lie if you believe it. And that's basically how polygraphs work. Like, this guy failed for reasons that no one can explain. I'm just saying, you don't have to take my word for it. Do some research on polygraphs. They shouldn't be taken seriously by anybody, let alone a court, let alone deciding whether this guy is going to get to live or die, because he's not going to get credit for the meritorious service that he provided our country. Just fucking shameful. Let's keep going.
Around 18,000 Afghans who worked for the US military have applied for special immigration visas. But CNN has learned only half are expected to be granted. The Biden administration is in talks with a number of countries to act as a safe haven while the visas are processed.
It's some pretty heavy shit. You know, 18,000 people and their families are facing potential death at the hands of Taliban killers. And our solution is we can maybe help half of you. You know, Biden's over here going like, hey guys, don't worry. We're handing it off in good shape. You can take it from here. Well, let's go ahead and look and see one last shot of how they're taking it from here. Here's the streets of some city in Afghanistan right now. This is like a week ago. Yeah, so they run this shit, and those aren't even the guys with the Humvees and the Guardians and the 50 cals and the grenade launchers. God knows else what other kind of crazy equipment that they've taken over. They got courtesy of the American taxpayer, and now they're going to use against the Afghan citizens. Oh my God, this whole situation. This country, when are we going to learn? The combination of the terrain and the mentality, they're both insurmountable, all right? These people, they're not going to stand for foreign rule. That's just the way they are. They'll die before it happens. They'll fight forever before they lay down to it. They've shown it over and over again. They've taken on all the superpowers. I think China's the only one who's left. Well, we'll see how long before China starts sniffing around in Afghanistan. Good luck.